This is the Housemade Podcast. We're your hosts, John Vieira and Nick Bobbin. We're here to cover your questions about home bartending, so let's get into it.
Hey, welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Housemade Podcast. We're here with the part 2 of our rum little
Extravaganza.
Yeah, I like that, extravaganza. So we're going to talk to you today about rum cocktails that you need to have this summer and badass things that you need to make at home for yourself or for your guests.
Yeah, these are things that you guys may have already had or be familiar with. But maybe you haven't, and also this could give you a different take on something that maybe you haven't thought to try yet.
And I just want to point out, if you guys missed our last episode, go back. We're going to be sipping on some rums that we're tasting in the last episode too.
Yeah, and we gave kind of a brief overview and explanation of some different types of rum, so that
Where
way,
they come from, what they are.
Yeah, exactly. These recipes are going to be very, very open for you guys to pick and choose what you think would taste the best, and use some of your own creativity to come up with your own stuff.
Because if you just swap the rums out in these drinks, you'll get a totally different drink.
Absolutely. Look at a daiquiri, for example.
Yeah, so let's talk about the daiquiri
that
first.
Man, classic cocktail, fantastic. Usually made with
a silver rum,
a silver or a white rum, right? But how fucking good is it when you make it with something like a Smith and Cross?
Oh,
right?
yeah, or any kind of aged rum.
Yeah, it just brings a whole different dimension.
Or even if you're like a big Gosling fan or black rum person, like it would be epic with that as well.
Totally.
Shit, you could make a dark and stormy daiquiri.
Ooh.
What if you did that? So you did like the Gosling's black rum, lime juice, and our ginger syrup.
Yeah.
I gotta send that to my dad. He'll fucking love that.
That would be. Let's pause the video. Just kidding. Let's definitely look into that though.
I'm gonna write that down for later.
I'll forget. Okay. So yeah, let's talk cocktails. These are things that you guys. We're gonna tell you how to make them. Obviously, you should be making them at home because they're just awesome. However, when you go out to bars and restaurants, it's nice to try stuff because every place makes it a little bit different.
Yeah. They'll put a different rum in it.
Yeah, or they'll just put a different twist on it, right? So I was just somewhere yesterday. Somebody ordered a daiquiri, and I was like, I wasn't drinking because I was driving. Bummer. However, I tasted it, and it was a really good daiquiri. And so I was like, oh man, like it got me trying to guess like what kind of rum was in there, and like, oh, like that's really good. Like it's different than what I usually make. So it's a really fun thing. If you guys have gotten into kind of home bartending, these are drinks that you should try when you go out places and see if you can make them better, essentially. So let's talk about daiquiri first.
Okay, daiquiri number 1. So super simple, 3-parter, silver rum, lime juice, sugar. Shaken, served up like a martini, right? Not on ice.
Yeah, not
Claimed,
blended, by the way.
Oh, which I did a whole bunch of research on that. But so it was claimed to be invented by Bacardi. It's specifically, I forgot even now. I was so enthralled about the daiquiri situation because, get this, we can all thank Ernest Hemingway for fucking that one up.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's what I found out. Okay, so the blender was invented in 1922. Okay?
That was a good year.
Yeah, the year that Prohibition started? or was it 1920? I think it was 1920.
I actually don't remember.
Anyways,
Dates,
so the blender comes out in 20 or 22. Prohibition is in full effect in the United States. So everybody goes down to Cuba, is the closest place that you can drink legally, especially all those fucks out of Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So one of the regular patrons down there is Mr. Hemingway himself.
Correct.
He stayed apparently at the El Florita quite a bit, which was right down the road from some bar that I forgot the name of already.
El Floridita.
Floridita.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll brush up. Anyways, he was noted to have ordered his daiquiris as doubles with no sugar.
Yeah. Was he diabetic?
Probably. I knew he was a fucking raging alcoholic.
He was. I want to say he was. All of the Hemingway, all of the notable drinks that he drank
Are fucking nasty.
When people nowadays try to drink them, they're just like, what
Why?
the fuck? And it's like, that's
Like
just how we drink them.
let's take a fucking perfectly balanced drink and let's fuck it to all hell.
Yeah.
That's
I
how
do like
most
the
we did.
idea of putting grapefruit juice in it. However,
The Luxardo that he put in there was just bad.
yeah. Anyway, tangent. So,
Anyways, so he was the one that helped promote the frozen daiquiris in the 30s, apparently, is when he got it. He had some famous letters or something to his son in like 1939 that promoted this whole thing. And then coincidentally, I went on to this specific article that I read. I think it was on like liquor.com or something like that. And it went on to say that one of those people from the 40s that was very notable in the tiki scene also helped promote those stupid ass blended drinks. But think about it this way. In the 30s and 40s, that piece of technology, the blender, was very new and noteworthy. So like, why wouldn't you fucking use that? It's like a goddamn smoking gun. I guarantee you in like 20, 30 years when somebody's like, oh, I'm going to get a smoked old fashioned, whoever's behind the bars is going to be like, motherfucker, fuck
Yeah.
you and your goddamn smoked bullshit.
Well, so-
and right now it's all the rage.
So here's the thing. Let's think about blender drinks for a minute here. So I worked at a place where it was a Mexican restaurant, obviously. So we're cranking out margaritas, and we had a few different kinds on the menu, and anyone could order it either on the rocks or blended.
Mm-hmm.
When you start looking at the ratios and the amount of booze and stuff like that that you need to put in a properly made blended drink, because they can be delicious. It's literally like a fucking frappe,
slushy, yeah.
slushy sort of thing with booze in it. But it is a different ratio completely.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a different process.
So you can't just take these drinks and fucking put ice in it,
No.
put it in the blender. It's gonna taste like shit.
It's gonna
because
be
you're adding
terrible.
so much water to it. Just think about the blending of all of that ice when you were getting rid of it. Now you're just essentially melting it all and adding it to your
and
drink.
you're creating so much extra volume that you just went from making one drink that you'd normally serve to one person, and it created enough volume for two drinks.
Yeah, exactly.
So, which is great if you're trying to drink less, I guess. But the point of
you
all
also
that
get half
is,
the flavor.
is that at least these guys in the early tiki scene, they were making hefty drinks with a lot of overproof rum and stuff. So at least if you blended something like that,
It still probably tastes
it was
good.
still probably tasting really rich, and you were still getting drunk off it.
Yep.
So I'm not saying it's something you should never do. Like if you have a blender at home, like by all means, like I'm just saying you have to do your due diligence and you have to find the correct ratios and recipe, write it down, document it, share it with everyone else. Because if you make a blended margarita or a daiquiri or something like that, it's gonna be much different than the recipes we're talking about. So anyway, there we are.
Anyways, back to daiquiris. Go try them. Try them. I guess I think at a cocktail bar if you
can,
would.
yeah.
So like when you look around and you're like, wow, these people kind of look like they know what they're doing, and you open the food menu and there's shit you can't pronounce on there, as long as it's in your language. Well, or maybe French.
Yeah, maybe French.
And they have a really extensive back bar. They probably are going to make up like an old school, like proper daiquiri.
Yeah, and a daiquiri has become one of these cult classic drinks that are like synonymous with the bar industry, right?
And
like Fernet Branca and
yeah,
stuff like
no,
that.
most people know how to do them.
So yeah, if you go anywhere that's like actually a craft style bar, they're probably going to know how to make a daiquiri. In fact, they might even drill you on how you like it or how you want it.
Yeah, they might first tell you like, I'm sorry, we don't have a blender.
So I will say though,
If they judged you that hard.
daiquiris are great. You can try swapping out different rums. Something that I did the other day that I thought was amazing, and actually thinking about maybe even putting it on the menu under a different name. I just swapped out the simple syrup component for the orgeat syrup that we make.
Oh,
Which, by the
badass.
way, I looked it up. I understand that it's pronounced orgeat. If anyone's like actually mad, I'm not going to change my ways. I've gone too far.
Orgeat.
I say
Yep.
orgeat.
I fucking make the syrup and then call it an orgeat.
Yeah. So,
We're
but anyway,
hicks from
I
Idaho.
do appreciate and understand that it is pronounced orgeat. So if any of you think that I'm just ridiculous, I apologize. But anyway, I made a daiquiri, lime juice, house-made orgeat syrup, and I actually put a dash of Angostura in there as well.
Oh, yeah, I bet you that's great.
And I didn't play around with different rums too much, so I'm sure you could really lock it down. But dude, it was amazing. So if you guys have that at home and you're making things like daiquiris or technically any drink that has like a simple syrup component, Swap that shit out. It's
Yep.
good.
Oh man. Okay, so let's talk about mojitos.
Mojito.
next.
Yeah. So mojito is something that
Those are great summer drinks.
they are. You get a little bit of that bubbly, right? You get that like
Mm-hmm.
fizziness to them. Now, here's a few things to try though. Well, obviously, go to some of your favorite places, try them there.
Try them out. Yeah, a lot of people have different flavored ones because, as we learned in our last episode, you can put almost anything you want into rum and call it rum.
Right.
So you'll get all kinds of flavored rums. Bacardi's got an infinite line of flavored rums.
They have
as does like Don Q and everybody else.
they have
in
like
the rum
a
game.
Citron. I know that's the Patron one, but they have like the citrus. And
Yeah, they got citrus, they got passion fruit, they got grapefruit, they got huckleberry.
However,
I mean, they got
would-
everything.
I've
Actually, I don't think they
honestly,
have
I've not had good results with flavored spirits because it gets lost in the mix. So what I would recommend that you guys do is actually just swap your components. So one of my favorite versions of it that we do at the bar all the time, people really like it, is a Huckleberry Mojito. So instead of just simple syrup and lime juice with your mint and with your rum, you add a little bit of that fruitiness, and it's mild. It's not super sweet. It's not crazy, but you can also cater your sweet level. According to how you like it. So,
So
Huckleberry.
instead of using like a flavored spirit, where you like the only way to get more flavor out of is add more spirit,
Right, which is
which
like
throws balance
counterproductive.
off.
Yeah,
you just add more syrup.
for sure. And I haven't tried this yet, but I bet you the orgeat would taste delicious as well. You could use the ginger syrup, but then at that point you're getting very close to just a rum-based mule. On that note, let's talk about Dark and Stormies. Great classic drink.
Trademarked drink, by the way.
Yeah.
You have to use Goslings with it, as we found out.
Well, yeah.
You call it a Dark and Stormy.
Yeah,
It could be a fucking...
you can make it at home and call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter.
Well, let's call it a rum mule.
Yeah, if you're gonna put it on like a menu somewhere and advertise it, it has to be Goslings.
Yeah. But it's great. So house-made ginger beer
Absolutely.
and dark rum.
Yeah,
Or
do a little-
Goslings float.
Do a little float on top,
And that's what makes it look like a dark and stormy, because it separates.
This is a mule essentially, but we're not making it in a regular mule glass. We're doing it in like a rocks glass.
Yeah.
So that way you could see
The separation of
the
it.
Stormy, right? Like that's the whole point. It tastes fantastic though. Rum tastes really, really great with ginger beer in general. I'm actually curious. I don't know the answer to this. I'm curious if a dark and stormy or like a rum mule, if you will, came before like a classic Moscow Mule.
I think
in all
they
of its
did.
popularity.
If I remember right, I think Moscow mules are a very recent thing.
We'll have to look that up.
Yeah, we'll tackle the mule in a different episode.
So, dark and stormy.
But I do want to try that fucking daiquiri dark and stormy.
Yeah.
That
So-
would be dope.
You start blurring these lines, right? So you take drinks like mules, and you're like, oh, it's got like ginger and it's got this spirit, and then you're like, well, yeah, but what about like if you were gonna make a daiquiri and it's gonna have rum and lime juice, but what if you made it with ginger? And then what rum you're using? What if you use that dark rum? So then you start to like make these weird creations that are neither one or the other, but they're like, well, I don't know if they're always good, but sometimes they're really good. Sometimes they're probably really shitty. But anyway, yeah, dark and stormy, mojito, especially a huckleberry mojito.
Oh man.
Daiquiris.
Oh, okay. So I guess back to dark and stormy. This is a weird one. So just from my experience with the dark and stormy, so that is my dad's
It's his favorite, right?
all-time fucking favorite drink on the planet. I'm not even sure that he drinks other things, period. But he is so not picky because he likes rum so much. Because this is always a conversation we have is we go into somewhere and he's like, I'll take a dark and stormy. And then they look at him and they're like, I don't know what the fuck that is. And he's like, well, it's dark rum and ginger beer. And they're like, okay, yeah, I don't have dark rum. And he's like, oh, okay. What other rums do you have? And they're like, I don't know. Dragon fruit, hibiscus, fucking this, that, and that. And he's like, how about just Captain Morgan? So he just drinks a fucking...
What? That sounds absolutely terrible.
I'm just saying that's always been my experience.
As a rum connoisseur, you should not just settle for that. Okay,
We got to
so
remember the places that we're going usually half the time.
my my amazing girlfriend and our off-screen co-host just messaged me and said that the Dark and Stormy was invented in 1806 and the Moscow Mule was invented in 1941.
Oh, in the 40s, huh?
So quite a bit before the Mule, which is pretty interesting, right? Because the Mule like eclipsed everything. It's like now, like you have different.
Now it does, yeah.
Well, so you have like Kentucky mules and London mules, and they're all like it's just like.
And
a
that's
mule.
the easiest way too to try a Dark and Stormy if nobody knows what you're talking about. Just be like, hey,
yeah,
can I
have a rum mule?
Can I get a rum mule, but like with dark rum?
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of dark rums on the market, so they're gonna carry Goslings or Myers.
This seems like a waste of Smith and Cross because it's so fucking good, but I bet you that would taste fantastic in a mule.
It would be fantastic. No one's gonna have Smith and Cross though.
Oh, I'm not recommending that anyone goes out and does that. I'm thinking for myself later.
Oh, totally. Yeah, you should try it.
I might want that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what's the fourth drink? We're going to cover 4 cocktails here. By the way, video component for this up on the housemaidsyrup.com blog. We're going to have all the recipes, videos, stuff like that on there. But we're going to do 4 cocktails today. So what's the fourth one that we're talking about?
The Mai Tai.
The Mai Tai, obviously. How could I forget?
What a fucked up drink.
Yeah.
So I just okay, so
don't Google this.
don't. Okay, so for anybody that doesn't know, the Mai Tai has a very controversial kind of past, right? So the Mai Tai is to be claimed, to be made, and actually that's kind of the history that everybody follows, is that Trader Vic, who owned a restaurant of the same name in Oakland, California, who is said to be the father of the tiki culture, invented this drink called the Mai Tai that used a 15-year rum and an overproof Jamaican rum with lime juice, French orgeat syrup, dry Curaçao. I think that's it. Fucking shake and served on ice.
Wait, hold, you said orgeat, lime juice, dry Curaçao, and 2 different rums.
Yep.
Yeah. That's
it. Okay. Anyways, that's a Mai Tai. And when he gave it to his guests that were in the bar, I don't even remember what nationality they were, but they essentially said Mai Tai something, which literally translated into very good, like world's best or absolutely phenomenal.
Like essentially like, wow, this is an amazing drink.
Yeah,
is what they were saying.
This blew my tits off.
In
they
their
said.
native tongue, which happened to translate to Mai Tai.
Exactly. And I feel like a hick for not remembering exactly. I think it was like Tahiti. They were from Tahiti or something. My geography is so... when I start thinking about like all of this... that's probably why I'm so bad at tiki stuff is like... You just don't have any way to think about it in your brain.
Basis
because
for like
you're
location,
like, oh yeah, it's in Tahiti. And you're like, so where is that? Is that closer to Australia or is that like over in the Atlantic Ocean?
I'll do a little bit of... studying on it though.
We just got to do some traveling because that helps my brain.
Yeah, it helps solidify it. And if I actually look at a map while I go over information like this, it helps a lot
too. Spatial. Anyways, so but that's what an actual Mai Tai is, and that's not what a lot of people know of a Mai Tai. A lot of people think about a Mai Tai as this crazy, elaborate punch style 30 goddamn ounce drink with like cherries and banana peels and like little umbrellas on top and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So in my search to find where that happened, I Googled who fucked up the Mai Tai. And all I got was fucking XXX videos.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
RedTube, all the good ones.
Yeah, there was, I think one was called XVid or something.
XVid, yeah.
Yeah, it was, that was
a lot
gnarly.
Of,
anyways,
a lot of Mai Tai porn out there.
Yeah. Well, if it means very good in whatever, I'm sure it's that national. I'll have to go back and watch it later. Probably.
That's true.
Just if I'm curious
for educational purposes.
Exactly. But so what I found out was that in the 50s, after World War II, Hawaii was a wonderful destination, and that was around the time that it became a state as well.
Oh, that makes sense.
Anyway, so
probably would not have if that whole thing didn't occur there.
So the Royal Hawaiian was a hotel that wanted their own version of Trader Vic's Mai Tai. So they asked Vic to make them a Mai Tai, and it was literally called the Royal Mai Tai. It It was made for the hotel, in which case he dropped his fancy rums, added a couple other rums, added some pineapple juice, orange juice, some like cherry vanilla syrup. Like if you go to liquor.com and look at it, it's a laundry list.
Well, and that's,
it's 6 ingredients.
So that is sort of tiki drinks in a nutshell, right?
Yeah, but usually they're balanced. It's like 100 fucking ingredients that come to make a balanced.
I don't mean to say
cocktail.
that they're shitty in any way. What I meant that as is that there are lots of ingredients. That's you're usually talking anywhere from a 2 to a 6 spirit split on the base. Sometimes there's something floated on the top, like a 151. But in order to balance all of this booze and all these overproof rums and stuff, there's a lot of really delicious fruit juices and stuff in there. But when you look up the recipe for a daiquiri or an old fashioned, you're like, oh, there's 2 or 3 ingredients. And then you look up a painkiller or a zombie and you're like, holy shit. This is literally like 8, 10, 12 ingredients.
Which is ridiculous if you're going to try and recreate those, because the amount of bottles you have to have is insane.
Well, and especially by the glass. However, here is something we should consider, right? Say you're having a barbecue, an event, a party, just a get together, a game night, whatever the hell you're doing. A lot. Let's talk about how we can batch some of this stuff.
Punches.
Yeah, let's talk about punch. Let's talk about something that you can make ahead of time, not have to stop and make every guest a drink and have to have 1,000 different ingredients on your counter. You can kind of make this stuff ahead of time, and people can ladle it into their own glass. You can still do fun garnishes. You can still have a lot of variety. If I was going to do something like this, I think I would make probably 2 or maybe even 3 different versions, and I'd set them out on the counter and let people go through and try them, right? So once again, we're going to post recipes for this stuff on the blog, but here's just kind of a jumping off point, some things that I was thinking about combination-wise. Now, first, we're going to talk about this Mai Tai that we were just looking at.
Trader Vic's Mai Tai.
Yeah.
Or the Royal Mai Tai.
Well, kind of going off the Trader Vic's. So this recipe that you would make as a single serve cocktail, but then how we can possibly expand it. And the ratios are going to become different because as you start to add more and more of this stuff large scale, like your ratios might need to adjust. So that's why I'm saying go look at the recipes for this. But essentially ingredient wise, I just wrote down rum because I would do at least a 2-way split. But if you wanted to get really creative and fun with it, you could add like an overproof in there. You could really do some fun stuff. But I just put rum, right?
Okay.
So obviously we're going to do rum. We're going to have lime juice. We're going to do some house-made orgeat syrup.
Okay.
And then orange liqueur, which I'm going to put as optional, but I would definitely throw it in there. Yeah. And you could use dry curacao.
Well, because we just tried that, trying to make our Mai Tai recipe for the bar that we're going to launch on our next menu.
Yeah.
And we found out that the orange liqueur was very important.
It makes so it plays so well with the orgeat. It gives it that nice freshness.
It gives a little bit more body too.
Now the reason that I say that it's optional is depending on how much booze you put in there from the rum. If you don't actually need the ABV support to expand this recipe as a punch, you could add
alcohol by volume.
Yes, alcohol by volume. You could expand this punch by doing something like an orange juice as well.
Okay.
So depending on your audience, what you guys are doing, how fast you're trying to get drunk, you could add probably some orange juice as well. So we'll maybe do like 2 different recipes. Which one is that? Is it the Florida Con?
Yeah. Give me some Smith in here. Yeah. We don't get this a lot. I just drank Mrs. Butterworth's. For any of you that didn't catch the last episode, Appleton Estate. Oh, I'm gonna be drunk.
Smith is so fucking good.
Appleton Estate literally smells like butter Eggos.
Yeah. So it's like a vanilla buttermilk waffle that you put butter and syrup on. And it smells and tastes that way, for the record. So it's like it's not a super expensive bottle either.
I have a whole new respect for. I liked Appleton before, but now making that connection, I'm like, yeah, that's great.
That's why tasting these spirits the way that we do is super important, because when you taste them in context, when you're like making a cocktail and you're like, oh, let's try this rum, there's so many other factors at play that you may not pick up on that fundamental, and then just knowing what it tastes like and what it smells like you would probably pair it with different things, just knowing that. So anyway, if you guys can find a bottle of this somewhere,
Get it.
highly recommend. Unbelievable.
Okay, so sorry, back to the punch.
Yeah, so anyway, that was Mai Tai punch,
Okay,
right?
okay.
We were just talking about the Mai Tai, something that you could batch
Easily batch. Oh,
and
yeah.
make a punch with, so that way you don't have to stand around making drinks for all your guests. And I was saying that I think you should make a couple different ones with some variety. So the next one that I would consider doing, just because it's so fucking popular and it's really refreshing, would be like the Huckleberry Mojito punch, essentially. Now, there's two different ways you could do this. You could add your soda water component or even a sparkling white wine, if you wanted to get weird,
Whoa.
into the bowl.
No. Put it on the side.
I think you should put it on the side. The only reason I'm saying that is if you...
Because it'll go flat.
It'll go flat. If you don't have the ability to do that, and if it's super like small scale, you might be able to pull it off.
I mean, unless all 20 of your friends showed up at one time, then fucking do that, ladle it out. But like,
Yeah.
make a big thing of like lime juice, rum, sugar, just there, ladle it in your glass, and then top it with soda water.
Right.
Like out of
Exactly.
the can or something. That way you can keep the soda water cold in the fridge.
Well,
stays carbonated.
And if you use those like Spindrift sodas that we were talking about,
Oh, you can change the flavor,
Yeah, you have
yeah.
different flavors. So that is really cool. Now, the reason I bring up the sparkling white wine, so something like, I'm not going to call it champagne because it's obviously not, but
It's American champagne.
what we would call a champagne, like for like mimosas, is if you do something like that, you're essentially creating a mojito mimosa.
Oh, can you imagine doing that for brunch?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, fuck.
So there's a lot of great ideas. Feel free to change things around and experiment. But what we were looking at was a Huckleberry Mojito punch. So what we would do is batch the rum. Once again, you can split rums. You can do different stuff. But the rum, the house-made huckleberry syrup, your lime juice, and a bunch of mint all into a bowl. You can ladle that into your glass and then top with your soda or champagne or whatever you're doing. Super easy. It's just, like literally it couldn't be easier. And it's going to save you a lot of time and trouble if you're actually doing like a barbecue. Because say you're playing cornhole, somebody's like, hey, I need a drink. And you're like, well, I'm winning. So,
So please ladle your own.
Exactly. So now this one is going to be the hardest one to come up with the correct ratio just because everyone's palate is different. So this one is like modeled after a painkiller, which if you guys are unaware, it's a classic tiki drink and it's super good.
Also copyrighted cocktail.
It is. I believe it has to have Pusser's rum in it, if I'm not mistaken,
I don't know.
which I think is also overproof or Navy strength, I think is what it's
gotcha.
referred to as. It's a Navy rum. Anyway, this is a delicious drink, but it's kind of like the concept of a I'm only thinking of blue Hawaiian. What's
A curacao?
the drink, the Pina Colada. Jesus. All right.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like a Pina Colada in the sense that it has so much delicious fruity juice and flavor to it that to make it like a punch and not have it be so deadly high alcohol, you're going to have to play around with it, but go look at the recipe, mix it around a little bit. Now, I just wrote rum. Once again, you can use any kinds you want, play around. But essentially, your flavor base is going to be coming from pineapple juice, orange juice, a little bit of coconut cream, and then you could have some nutmeg that after you ladled it or something like that, you could sprinkle over the top, right? And really good aromatics.
So that's a good thing to touch on too, is those baking spices that everybody thinks about baking with. So like cinnamon, allspice, and nutmeg.
Clove. all that
Clove's a
stuff.
big one.
Yeah.
Those are all tropical spices. They all come from the equator regions, and they are so good with tropical fruits and rums. It would amaze you. You don't have to put them all together. They're actually better individually on their own.
Yeah.
But like, man, especially some fresh grated nutmeg on something like that. Fuck. Or that's like why Angostura is so good in all rum things, because Angostura is a bitters and it's literally like a clove allspice like punch in the face.
Yeah. So to sort of wrap this up, the point of all this is You don't even have to be using rum, by the way, if you're not a fan of rum. We just picked rum because it's common in a
Rum's
lot
so
of these.
good.
It's really good and it's really cheap.
I think
the
that's
most
the best
part.
part. So especially if you're trying to batch cocktails and it's like such a big fashion, dude, just buy a bunch of rums. Your fucking bottles are like $15.
Yeah. It's a great way to go. However, if you are like a diehard like gin person, vodka, whatever, any of this is going to taste fine.
Yeah, they
do
would.
do what you want to do. Do what your guests want. These are just ideas. Punches and the concept of batching. We're just trying to make your life easier. We're just trying to throw some recipes into the ring that will allow you to have more fun at your get-togethers and worry about other things. So, say you're also cooking. That's a lot to concentrate on.
It's usually what happens,
Right.
yeah.
So things like that. And then as far as these cocktails, these are things that you can very easily and you should make at home. It's warm weather. It's beautiful outside. Play a little cornhole, have a little daiquiri, but also on your journey to taste different things, try different things, and learn about it a little bit, you should be trying some of this stuff at other bars and restaurants because you might have some really bad ones that'll make you be like, wow, I'm actually not so
I'm actually
bad.
a lot better than I thought.
Exactly. And then you might also have some really good ones that'll make you think differently about like, oh, I should try this
Yeah.
or maybe I could do this differently. So that is literally the whole point of this rum series that we just did, and also so that we can learn because
That's what this is all about is
Yeah.
we need to expand our own knowledge too.
Totally. And this is the best way for me to do it. It's the most applicable way for me to actually load stuff into my brain. I do not know a lot about rum and I do not know a lot about tiki drinks. However, I'm interested in this stuff.
We're going to kick it off this summer.
So we're going to figure it out. And, it'd be cool too, just as auxiliary content to make a video like every week of a different like tiki drink that we just dissect and make at home.
Oh, that'd be sick.
You know what I mean? That'd be pretty easy to do.
Yeah, well, let's do it.
So anyway, go to housemadesyrup.com. That's our landing page for everything. You'll be able to look at more episodes of the podcast. We put out new content every week, backlogged episodes as well. There's a video content to the podcast. If you're not already watching that, make sure you go to YouTube and check those out. We're going to have blogs, recipes, general knowledge, everything you need. So go to housemadesyrup.com.
And
Anything to
hey,
add?
yeah, tell your friends about us because we're not that social and we need your help.
Yeah, we're just doing this because we like it and we don't make any money. So it'd be really cool if you guys like really liked it. And
Well, I mean, we kind of make money. Just come to the bar and check us out too.
well, the bar technically makes money,
All right, yeah.
but I
that's
mean
fair.
like we don't make money.
Nah, yeah, no.
We're just doing
Sit
it
in the
because
basement and-
it's cool. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
just in a basement right now.
It's great.
You can probably hear all my neighbors
No.
and animals.
The animals probably.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think that's all for today. We'll be back next week with something I don't know about yet.
Badass. Cheers.